recognizes the lady from Virginia, Ms. McClellan, for 5 minutes for her.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I thank you for holding this very important hearing. I want to thank the witnesses for being here this morning. Your work, as we have discussed, is very critical to making sure we ensure the transparency and integrity of our government, and so thank you for your work. And some of my questions may have already been touched on, but these are very important issues of concern, and I want to make sure that I have a chance to put on the record because my constituents have raised a lot of concerns about what's been happening over the past month, where I had a town hall meeting with double the number of folks participating as usual. And I was deeply concerned when the president fired inspector generals from across 17 agencies, including the EPA. As we've discussed today, the job of an inspector general is to be an independent, nonpartisan watchdog, and it is a vital role in investigating ethics violations, exposing corruption, and protecting taxpayer dollars. And the decision to remove the EPA inspector general is particularly troubling since EPA regulators settled multiple lawsuits with Tesla over violations of the Clear Air Act and hazardous waste laws. And so, Ms. Murley and Mr. Black, I wonder if you could further elaborate on the role your offices play in ensuring that government programs are free from corruption and conflicts of interest.
Our office has a staff of dedicated oversight professionals that are committed to the mandate that Congress gave us, which is to prevent and detect waste, fraud, and abuse, and to promote economies and efficiencies at the EPA programs. And that is what we are very cognizant that that's our mission, and that's what we show up to work to do every day. Thank you.
I thank you for that. Mr. Black, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, certainly. The role of the OIG is to identify gaps and opportunities for improvement and changes to the internal control structure of the department, its programs, and its operations, and by doing so, to improve and prevent fraud, waste, and abuse. And if I may, I know there's a lot of buzz in the media and in the Congress about what risk there is to having had the inspector generals removed. I want to add some assurance that the Department of Energy's Office of Inspector General has a deep and well-trained and experienced staff of professionals who will continue to do the appropriate oversight to make sure that the risk for fraud, waste, and abuse is continued to be covered, continue to be addressed, and I can offer some assurance that we are continuing to do our duties as written in the IG Act, and with or without a head, we've still got a deep and experienced cadre of leaders who are going to make sure that this mission continues to be addressed.
And I'm glad to hear that, and that's true of so many of our federal agencies and so many of our civilian federal workforce, our military federal workforce, who are dedicated to upholding their oath of office and helping us uphold ours to preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution of the United States. And yet, including over 300,000 federal employees in Virginia, where I represent, and yet ever since President Trump and Elon Musk started taking a chainsaw to our federal agencies, again, constituents have flooded my office with thousands of calls about the consequences of these reckless actions, including the wholesale firing of the federal workforce, even in cases where the people firing them had no clue what they did, like protect our nuclear stockpile. And these are professionals who have served faithfully under both Democratic and Republican administrations, just like those in your department. But now an unelected billionaire and his DOGE bros who have no idea what many of these agencies or what many of these employees, including probably you, do, are making decisions and forcing employees to justify their very existence, firing probationary employees. That doesn't just gut our federal workforce, it helps to destroy our entire talent pipeline. And as you just said, you have a cadre of professionals, probably some of them are probationary or once were probationary, and having them summarily fired makes it very difficult to keep that talent pipeline going. And so, Ms. Murley and Mr. Black, have your offices found any evidence that the mass firing of civil servants at any agency like EPA or the DOE have actually benefited our country in the past month? And we may not have time for you to answer here, so I'll ask you to submit your answer on the record afterwards, please. And I yield
We'll be
back.
happy to do so.
The gentlelady